This week, Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian in The Mandalorian, joins us to talk about Season 3 and more. This May, we're celebrating 40 years of loving Star Wars Return of the Jedi, and today we're thrilled to reveal the cover art for the third in a trilogy of anthologies marking the occasion. From a Certain Point of View, Return of the Jedi. Once again, 40 authors will bring you 40 stories expanding on the film, including some of our favorite Star Wars authors, plenty of newcomers, and computer enhance at least one of your favorite Star Wars news hosts. From a Certain Point of View, Return of the Jedi arrives this September and is available for pre-order now. For the full list of authors and intel on some of the characters featured, Ewok dance your way over to StarWars.com/thisweek. In other book news, there's a new visual guide coming this year. Star Wars Dawn of Rebellion, a new book from our friends and lore experts Pablo Hidalgo and Emily Shkukani, is a comprehensive visual guide delving into the Rebel Alliance in the time of the Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series and Andor, as well as key Star Wars films, with an emphasis on the early days of the Rebellion. You will not want to miss it. Earlier this week, the official Star Wars Celebration Europe panel schedule arrived. The biggest Star Wars fan event in this or any galaxy kicks off Friday, April 7th with the Lucasfilm Studio Showcase discussing The Mandalorian and more. A look back at the making of Andor Season 1 that afternoon. A panel dedicated to the forthcoming Ahsoka series on Saturday. Another on Star Wars The Bad Batch on Monday, and many, many, many more. See the full panel schedule for yourself now on StarWars.com/thisweek. And to answer your question, yes, Star Wars Celebration Live is back for Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023. Presented by Star Wars Jedi Survivor, join hosts Anthony Carboni, Christina Ariel, Jamie Stangroom, and yours truly, Kristen Baver, for unscripted moments, big reveals, full panels, and all the chaotic good that comes from our official live stream. And starting today, Cal Kestis from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is joining the holotables in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. In a special marquee event, add Cal to your squad to assist unaligned Force users. His special ability to slow his enemies inflicts devastating debuffs while buffing his allies, and with BD1 along for the ride, you can count on powerful protection and health recovery for the whole squad. Download Galaxy of Heroes now in the Apple and Google Play app stores. Speaking of gaming news, earlier this week, the middle grade book Star Wars Hunters Battle for the Arena by Mark Oshiro arrived, based on the characters from the forthcoming mobile game, which arrives later this year. Last week, The Mandalorian Season 3 premiered with Chapter 17, The Apostate, the start of an important journey for Din Djarin and Grogu, traversing the galaxy from a droidsmith workshop on Navarro
Bad baby.
to Bo-Katan's throne room on Kalevala. And yesterday, Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore arrived, giving us a glimpse of Boonta Eve and finding Din and Bo-Katan on the quest to locate the living waters of Mandalore in the thrilling new installment. Watch them both for yourself, streaming now on Disney+. Time to check in with The Bad Batch, Episode 12, The Outpost. Not up to speed? Meet us ahead at the timestamp below. The start of the Stormtrooper program means clones are being phased out and forced into retirement. Crosshair sets out on a tense mission to secure an outpost. First, we find out that only 3 clones remain on the base. Then we find out why there were only 3 clones left. Crosshair and Mayday are sent to retrieve some stolen crates. They must be holding something pretty important, right?
Been risking our lives to recover equipment we could have been wearing this whole time.
And after a difficult trek back to the base, Crosshair gains fresh perspective on the Empire.
He served his purpose as a soldier of the Empire.
And because he's Crosshair, he takes action, which ultimately lands him back in Imperial custody, waking up in a situation that is less than ideal. Oh, poor Crosshair. Let's hope the batch is having a better time of things when we check in with them next week for Episode 13, Pabu. Pedro Pascal needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. The star of The Mandalorian and everyone's favorite adoptive dad recently sat down with us to talk about getting into character for Din Djarin's continuing quest. Let's take a look.
What's different about how you step into this character now for Season 3 versus 5 years ago when you first started on this journey?
I wouldn't necessarily say different, but what's interesting is that there's always new things to learn, which is unique in that you wouldn't expect it from an armored, faceless character that one would be afraid is limited to a silhouette when he's not. Partly because of the incredible stunt work that Lateef Crowder does within the suit, the physical language that Brendan Wayne contributes to the character, and this kind of community collaborative effort of making an engaging lead character. And so there's always of discovering being able to shoot more than one unit at the same time, depending on what it is, and the open relationship that I have creatively with John and Dave in terms of going back into a scene, changing the tone, trying to ratchet up the tension or the sentiment. And do all this kind of like surgical work that is meant to ultimately keep us engaged and invited into the story. And we keep discovering new ways to do that.
I love that term, surgical work. As you mentioned, it takes a whole team to bring Mando to life. Can you give us a crash course in how you find the voice for this character? And, what are you doing to...
Lower register.
Lower register, all right.
A little bit more chesty. And I think that, again, something so technical has to be attacked with a level of creativity that you wouldn't expect. Or I'm really OCD. So are John and Dave.
I think you're just good at your job.
Yeah, give me the opportunity to sort of like pay attention to details or find different ways of like, make a big move, I guess, or to have a big impact. And I can get really OCD around because he's not a talkative character.
He says you should get a new one.
At the same time, it's really important that when he has something to say, or if he's forced to express himself, that it be really, really true within the whole picture. And so it's very interesting and hard work at times, yeah.
And yet he makes it look so easy. That's it for this week, but for more on these stories and other news from around the galaxy, check out StarWars.com. And be sure to join us right here for This Week in Star Wars every Thursday. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.